Hello, my name is Julie, and I am going to start a series, Feel Our Feelings. And that might sound really weird because humans will naturally feel their feelings. However, there are some feelings that we resist feeling, and it may be because they're overwhelming, or we have an idea or a belief about what it means about us to feel that feeling that we're trying to avoid. We're just not equipped. We don't understand how to process through and become the version of ourselves that can feel that feeling. Feelings are temporary, and just like everything else, they're just energy. But I noticed that things that we get bogged down with and end up having to heal from are always lodged in with an emotion, a feeling that we interpreted due to whatever perspective we had on the experience we were having. Feeling is even how we log in memories. And those memories are serving us to help us relate our new experiences to the old experiences so that we have some level of continuity in our lives day to day. But if you've ever noticed a repeating cycle in your life of behavior that's unwanted or limiting, feelings that are unwanted or limiting, or thoughts that are unwanted or limiting, then we know that this is something that has not yet been processed through, meaning we have not yet become the version of ourselves that could process that through. And so this series is going to be about helping us address and become the version of ourselves that can process through the specified feelings that we identify to address here in this series. And what happens when we become the version of ourselves that can process through these feelings is that the next time that feeling comes up for us, maybe this where the cycle would have begun again, we'll notice that now we are not in resistance to it. Now we can be present with it. Now it doesn't cause us to act in ways that are designed to avoid feeling it. So we'll notice our thoughts and behaviors change around our lives and around the experiences we have simply by becoming the version of ourselves that can process these feelings. Some of these feelings you may recognize as ones that you already know how to feel. And I still invite you to participate, because if we do this collectively and hold space for those that still need to become the version of themselves that can feel those feelings and process those through, it becomes a much more effective and strengthened process for those that are doing the work. So you don't need to have to be doing the work in order to be here and participate. I welcome you to participate as someone who can hold space for those feelings. Maybe there's a deeper level of those feelings that you may get to in doing this process anyway. And I think that let this video serve as both the introduction to the series as well as the first process in the series. So there's going to be a formula and a process that I'm going to talk about and talk us through and be present with you throughout the process of doing this. But some things you want to know to be prepared is that you may want to have a private space. You don't have to. You can do this in a group with people that you trust and love and know. it's going to be difficult to do this in the presence of someone that you don't, excuse me, fully trust and feel comfortable with. So you want to make sure that you have the space to do it that feels comfortable to you. And I suggest that you stay hydrated during this process. I suggest that you understand that it could take up to 3 days to fully integrate the process for yourself. And as you do this process for yourself, there may be other feelings that come up immediately after you're done with this one we address first that want your attention too. And you are free to go ahead and repeat the process on whatever feeling comes to your attention, asking for your presence. Because this process is a process that we're going to use repeatedly on each feeling that we address. And it's, as far as I understand, pretty common for another feeling to want to have your attention once your subconscious realizes that you are addressing things. Because sometimes there's a backlog of unprocessed things that are just waiting for the time when you become the version of yourself that can process them and that can handle them. Because the lodged in energies that are posing our limitations and difficulties are difficult for us to process, sometimes we can go a long time without noticing that we haven't processed them, or noticing that we repress, deny, project, repress, or even fabricate stories about it, all in an effort to avoid having to feel it. And it can go under our radar that we're even doing that. But usually when it's time to heal something, it will get louder for us to notice it. Meaning you'll start being activated in that way a lot. That loop of energy will be poked in you over and over again. Or you'll start noticing it in everybody else around you, if that's the only place you allow yourself to see it. And you may not realize that it's actually an indication of something that's in you, unprocessed. And so this can be a natural and organic process that you do without this series that I'm releasing. And I encourage you to take the tool of the formula with you and process what you need to as it comes up, real time. And for the more difficult ones, you may seek out some assistance or support. Always seek out the help of a professional when you know you need it. I am just serving as a coach, as someone who knows that I did it and can share with you how I did it. So I'm not doing this in any professional capacity. I'm doing this as something that I know about, that works really well, and that I can share. So if it does assist you, let me know. And if you have questions about it, let me know. And if there's a certain feeling that you want me to address next, let me know. As we go through this series, we may touch on random things that might not apply to you, and that's okay. You can just choose to watch the ones that do apply to you, or you can choose to watch them all. Do what works for you. It is your responsibility to decide what works for you out of this series and process. So the first thing I'm going to do is use this deck, which is really just some flashcards that I got at the thrift store. You can see the little pink tag says $1.75. I'm pretty sure I paid 10 cents for these, but I could have paid $1.75. And they're just cards with emotional situations depicted on them. So I'm going to take a card from here to lead us into the first feeling that we will address in our series. Okay, so as we're getting ready to do this and you're in your comfortable space and you are well hydrated or you have some water nearby, let's take some deep breaths. And as you're breathing, you can close your eyes or not, whatever's comfortable for you. But I invite you to imagine a white source light up above your crown. It comes from the space where you look to when you pray. And this is the source energy, and we're going to ask this energy to enter us through the top of our head and ask this energy to fill you up, starting with your head, your neck, your chest, down your arms, through your fingertips, your torso, your waist, your hips, your buttocks, your thighs, your knees, down your calves and through your feet. And when this source light has completely filled you up, you're imagining this, it may feel very nice, and you may not feel anything, it's okay. But once you know this light has filled you, I want you to shoot the light out the bottom of your feet, and we're going to make cords down into the center of the earth. So I invite you to imagine these cords made of the light shooting out the bottom of your feet into the center of the earth. That's where I imagine that these cords root in. You could imagine a pipe that they grab onto and tie to, or roots that spiderweb out into the space there to hold in place. And once this happens, I invite you to ask Mother Earth's loving energy to come up the cords and enter your body. This energy fills your feet, your legs, your pelvis area, and your chest, stomach, arms, fingers, shoulders, neck, head. Now you have energy coming from source above and from earth below, completely filling your body. And I invite you to bring these energies to a meeting point at your heart. Form a bubble around your heart with these energies. I want you to expand this bubble to encompass your whole chest. Expand your bubble to encompass your whole body. Expand your bubble to encompass the entire room that you are in. Expand your bubble to include the entire building that you are in. Expand your bubble to include the entire town you are in. Expand your bubble to include the entire state you're in. Expand your bubble to include the entire part of the country you're in. And then expand to the entire country. Expand your bubble to include the entire earth. And now expand your bubble to include the entire solar system. Expand your bubble past the constraints of time and space. And push them out a little bit further than that. And now you are connected to the all, to above and below. And here we can make changes effectively and easily. I'm inviting you to imagine that you have a divine blueprint that shows your perfect fitness, health, and chemistry of your body. Your physical vessel and the energy that you use to navigate Earth all has a divine blueprint which is perfect for you. I invite you to imagine bringing your energy up to the blueprint above you and reminding your energy of what that divine blueprint is like, and asking your energy to make any repairs that are needed for your vessel and your energy body at this time. I invite you to invoke the violet flame energy, which I am presenting to you here. It's a violet color, and it's there for you to grasp. And by using your intention and your imagination, I invite you to use the violet flame to wash down your entire vessel, down your entire body, pushing anything that doesn't belong or that's no longer needed down towards the earth. Asking Mother Earth to cleanse the energy, to transmute it and purify it and return it to you in the form of rainbow love water. Here I invite you to imagine that the drops of energy come in the form of rainbow rain, which I call rainbow love water, and return to you by raining down on you all the colors of the rainbow, completely purified. I invite you to set a timer that this process will repeat for you for the next 48 hours or however long you deem appropriate. It's important to stay hydrated during these hours that you set your timer for. Now from here, most of the work that we'll be doing is to help our mind catch up to the understanding of what is true for us. And we're going to release any emotion that may be stuck by becoming the version of ourselves that can integrate it in, so it is no longer stuck, but simply using us as a vessel for its movement. It is able to present itself to us simply as a piece of data for us to consider in our experience of life. The card we got is this picture. You can look at your screen now. A pig looking at Cat, and Cat has an ice cream cone, and Cat looks pretty happy about it. And Pig doesn't. Pig looks sad or jealous, maybe envious, because he doesn't have an ice cream cone. Let's look at what the words on the back say. Does Cat's ice cream cone make Pig less happy? Well, technically we don't know if Pig is less happy because of the ice cream cone, but in this depiction it does appear that Pig is using the ice cream cone to express his unhappiness as a potential reason that he is unhappy. Does Cat notice Pig? No, Cat seems to have his focus on his enjoyment of his life at this moment and what he's grateful for. What does Pig feel about Cat? I think it's jealousy or envy. So that means that Pig feels like, oh, it's got to be envy. Pig feels like he should have the ice cream. And he's not happy for Cat having the ice cream because he doesn't have an ice cream. Do you ever feel bad you don't have something someone else has? So this is asking you to identify that you might have this feeling in you. Do you ever feel bad that you don't have something someone else has? How about their happiness? When someone else has happiness, do you feel bad that you don't have happiness? When someone else has money, do you feel bad you don't have money? What about a vehicle or a certain job or a certain title or a certain number of friends, a certain place to live, a certain way of handling life, a certain way they look? What is it that you can readily identify in yourself as unable to be happy for someone else when they have it? And actually feeling bad that you don't have it. Okay, so we're diving right into one of the darker energies called envy here. And I have done another video about envy. If you want to explore my perspective on it further, I had done some research and shared about it. And it was a while back, maybe last year or so. So you would have to search my channel, but basically it's a human way to feel when you don't understand that seeing that thing that you want is actually meant to inspire you. And because seeing that thing that you want makes you want it too, and you also have a belief that you can't have it, that is what causes the discomfort and the unhappiness. It's not necessarily true that you can't have it. Maybe it's true that you can't have it now. Maybe it's true that you can't have it the same exact way, especially if it's a certain boyfriend or family member, reputation, things like that. But it's meant to inspire you to look at how you can give yourself what will make you happy. Because there's some sort of version of that for you. And you can never be someone else. So your experience is unique to you. And the life that you're living is meant to push you in the direction that you always meant to go. So while it's understandable that our ego wants to protect itself and might live in fear if we don't have certain things, it's also true that our soul may have wanted to experience the things that we're experiencing because we are meant for something that only we can accomplish, and we are being set up to do so. Maybe we're clearing patterns from an ancestry, and eventually we will be inspired to do something great with that. But we will always be distracted from doing so if we spend our time just feeling bad about not having something that this session isn't necessarily about convincing you not to want to feel envy, but accepting that you do have envy and becoming the version of you that can process it through so that it doesn't limit you and that you don't have to feel bad anymore. So if you can acknowledge that you have the envy, that's the first step. I'm just going to pause so I can sneeze. Okay. So once you acknowledge your envy, you may have it on one topic and you may have it on many. You can just start with one example in your mind and validate why you feel that way about envy. Why are you envious? Why do you feel bad that you don't have what they have? Why do you feel bad? Because whatever the reason is, it's valid for you because it goes along with your experiences and your thoughts and your feelings and your beliefs. Your experience is valid. It's valid for you to decide to have felt that way and even act whatever way you have as a result of feeling the envy. Some people can go to great lengths to live through their envy, which can be harmful to themselves and others. And we're not here to shame you. We're just here to become the version of yourself that can handle envious feelings so that you don't have to act out and you don't have to harm yourself or others. So recognize that it's valid for you to feel the way you feel. Then accept that it's the truth. It is what it is. I don't have that thing that they have, and I am envious. Now I'm going to try to draw up an example of something in my life. I don't usually feel envious because I recognize others as a part of myself, and I tend to feel happy, and I tend to recognize a desire for something that I don't have, that someone else has, as an inspiration to achieve that myself. And the only reason is because I've done work on envy already. But because I've done work on envy, I think I can recall what it is to feel envious. I think I can use a story in my head to do the next step with you, which is once we accept that it's the case, that we are envious, we are going to be present with what it feels like. So can you feel what it feels like? Now don't push it away. Don't blame anyone, okay? This isn't the time for pointing the finger and making it their fault. You're owning this feeling. You're inviting it in to be with you. So you're not doing that so that it goes away. You're doing that because it's a feeling that you've identified as valid and you are allowing it to be there. You're no longer pushing it away. When you allow yourself to be present with this feeling, you may feel it, you may cry, you may have a release, you may feel angry. I want you to promise not to harm yourself or anyone else. You're going to have to be brave enough to feel this and be present with it. And know that simply feeling this will not harm you. It would only be the actions you take as a result of feeling it that could harm you or someone else. So it's very important that we don't do that. Even if we feel extreme discomfort, you're just going to be with it. You're just going to surrender and know that this feeling is allowed to be with you. You feel angry, and you may feel disappointed and frustrated and like it isn't fair, and you may want to scream and cry, and you may feel bad about yourself, and you may feel inadequate. You may feel like you're in lack, or you'll never have enough, or like never whatever you do isn't good enough. You may feel like it should be yours instead. You feel angry. You may feel like you want to destroy the person who has it. I want you to make sure that you're not going to harm yourself or anyone else, but you're going to let yourself feel what you feel. You may feel like because they have it, you can't have it. So you may feel jealous. This is us being present with what it feels like to be envious. Maybe it's a case where they have a lot more money than you and they can go out for expensive meals and they can tip double what you can. And maybe they have the luxury of buying new clothes for every season and staying up with the trends. And you feel lack and you feel like not enough and you feel like you want those things too, and you feel like those things would make you happy and that you are deserving of those things. Feel like they're not deserving. So you may feel judgmental. You may feel confused on why you haven't been able to achieve it or why it hasn't happened for you. You may feel mad at God or spirit or your parents or yourself. You could be mad at yourself for not doing what you needed to do to achieve that for yourself, or for not even understanding how to achieve it for yourself. You might be mad at the people who are supposed to teach you how to prepare yourself in this manner to have what you want. Let's look at something very basic like an ice cream cone, because it's more of a childlike thing for someone to be envious of an ice cream cone, because a child is more likely to feel like they can't have that thing, right? Because their parents told them no or whatever. Adult would probably just buy their own ice cream if they saw someone with an ice cream and they wanted it. But in your life, there's probably something that you feel like you can't get. You feel like something's in your way. So anger can be with you. This envy is allowed to be with you. And you're allowed to be envious of this. You're allowed to feel bad that you don't have what they have. So you allow yourself to feel bad. Just be present with what it feels like to feel bad. Now at this point of the video, I want to invite you to identify where you're at. And if you know that this feeling is still very strong within you, I want you to pause the video and be with that feeling for 60 seconds. In 60 seconds, you can start the video again, and then we'll be here right here with you, with the feeling, allowing the feeling. And we're just going to be present as the feeling is also present and allowed to be with us, and we feel bad. And as you check in with yourself, and that feeling is still just as strong, or maybe it's lessening its strength, but if you still feel it, I invite you to pause the video for 120 seconds. So this time you're going to go 2 minutes by yourself feeling the feeling, allowing it to be with you. So you shouldn't be rushing it, you shouldn't be pushing it away, you shouldn't be blaming yourself or anyone else. You're literally just being with it as if it's sitting next to you. After 2 minutes, if you'd like to come back, we'll be with you and the feeling. I want you to notice where you're at with the feeling now. Is the feeling just as strong? Are you still feeling bad that you don't have what they have? It's okay. This may take as long as it takes. If you're ready, I invite you to pause the video and spend 5 minutes with the feeling. At the end of 5 minutes, you can return to us and we will be present with you and the feeling. Allow yourself to feel bad. You don't have what they have. As you allow this feeling to be with you, I invite you to take deep breaths. This feeling is allowed to be there as if you are the adult and it is the child. And you are just unconditionally present with what this feeling is. It doesn't have to change what it is. Welcomed it in to be with you. Now I want you to check in with where you're at with the feeling now. To invite you to pause the video, and for another 10, 20, or 30 minutes, I'd like you to commit to being present with that feeling on your own. And then you can come back to the video and we'll be here present with you in that feeling. And as you sit with the feeling and allow it to be there, you might feel that it's harder to grasp it, it's harder to feel it. It doesn't feel as strong anymore, but it's started to loosen up. For some of you, it may have moved altogether. And if you're continuing on with us to hold space for the others, I appreciate that. Thank you. That you've returned from your time with your feeling, being present by yourself. If you know there's more to do, I'm going to invite you to pause the video and be with your feeling unconditionally, with no urgency for it to leave or hurry up. Because this feeling is allowing you to become the version of yourself that can handle this feeling. This is you processing a feeling that as a human being, you want to be equipped to process. What you're actually doing is maturing yourself into a version of yourself that can be mature enough and responsible enough to feel this feeling. So I want you to spend the time until this feeling is no longer there with you, that you can't grasp it anymore. So pause the video until you're in that space and then come back to us. And don't rush it. There's no time limit. It takes as long as it takes. You may notice that sometimes when you're on your own, or even waiting with us on the video, something else tries to come into your mind, a different thought, a worry that you have, something you forgot to do. These distractions are normal. However, it is important that you pull your attention back onto being present with the feeling. Because this feeling has been ignored and pushed aside and resisted for sometimes a very long time in your life. So what's trying to happen is your defense mechanisms that protect you from feeling this are trying to distract you and say, no, we don't have to feel this, remember? But what you're doing is overriding that, and you're allowing yourself to be present with this feeling because you are actually growing and learning and becoming the version of yourself that can be responsible enough to feel this feeling. So the coping mechanism part of you, which is your ego, is not aware of that yet. but will become aware of it. So it's important to redirect into presence with the feeling anytime the distractions start to come up. You don't have to start over in the process unless you feel like you do. If you get distracted or someone calls you or someone talks to you during it, you just return back into presence. And it's important to make the effort to be present fully without the distractions as much as possible. But if a distraction comes, it's okay. You can recover back into the process. So now that you've been fully present with this feeling and you can no longer identify with the feeling, what has actually happened is once you accepted that you had it, you opened up your central channel. And then once you were present with it, you allowed it to be with you. Naturally took its course to move through you because you just became the version of yourself that can handle that feeling. The automatic response that you used to have to try to protect you from that feeling, which meant that you ignored it, pretended it wasn't there, justified it in your mind, told yourself a story about why it was okay to feel that way, or to not deal with that feeling on a very deep level, or projected it as somebody else's fault. It's their fault I feel this way. All those things that you used to have to do to handle that feeling when it came up, and which also caused you to act in limiting and challenging ways for yourself or others, that will no longer be necessary. And you'll notice that when that feeling ever comes up again, it will pass through you. You will be able to be present with it, and you won't enact that coping mechanism anymore, because you have now matured into the version of yourself that can handle that. And there's a space in your body for it to go through, and it will know that. So now that you've become the version of you that can handle feeling envy, the irony is that you very likely won't feel envy anymore. That you had that lodged in your system so that you could experience envy because you wanted to know something more about it. You might even be a master of envy if you've been experiencing it a long time in many, many loops around many, many experiences. And now you're able to see the other side of things. So if you so choose, you can look at all the reasons why you don't have to be envious. You don't have to experience envy at all anymore. If you do, it'll be okay too. So let me know what your experience of this was. How did it work for you? Do you have any questions? I'll be interested to hear from you. And you can look for this series to continue on my channel. So like the video to let me know if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to follow along or just have access to this in the future at a time when you do feel like you're ready for it. See you then.